Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be reviewing a brand new palette from Colored Raine. It's the Power Palette. This is the latest collection that Colored Raine has released. They did team up with Power, which is a TV show on the network Starrr, I believe. And they created a whole collection that is definitely reflective of not only the TV series, but this beautiful purple mauve theme. And holy bejeebers, can we just talk about how stunning this palette is. I do own a couple of palettes from Colored Raine as well as a few of their single shadows. I love the eyeshadow formula, and this particular formula is reminiscent of their Queen of Hearts palette, which is near and dear to my heart. So if you're interested in hearing what I've got to say about this palette, make sure you keep on watching, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss upcoming videos. I mean, really, why are you gonna sit here and watch one video when you can watch a bunch? Oh, this packaging, it's so nice. There are several items that belong to the Power collection. You do have an eyeshadow palette. There is an empty magnetic palette that will fit 96 eyeshadows in there. There are a bunch of highlighter and blush duos. And of course, you have a ton of lip products. Everything from glitter toppers to regular lipsticks. And then of course, the signature matte liquid lipstick formula that Colored Raine has. As much as I wanted to get my hands on a few items from this collection, I also knew that I have a lot of makeup that I need to get through first. So I am being a lot more picky with the products that I am purchasing as of late. So I decided to only invest in the eyeshadow palette, which did set me back $29 US. And let me tell you, there are so many gorgeous colors in this palette. I feel like this is really going to be a staple in my collection, and I'm even gonna go so far as to say, if you've been considering the Natasha Denona Lila palette, but you don't want to spend the money on the Lila palette because it is pretty expensive, you might want to consider this one here because it is definitely more affordable. And of course, you've got all of the purple or mauve tones in this one that you pretty much have in the Natasha Denona palette. Let's talk about the packaging first and foremost. It is very simple packaging but beautiful. The palette does come in this sleeve, which you obviously take off, and then you've got the palette itself. It is a cardboard palette that has a magnetic closure. It's got one of these plastic screens which are nice and thick, so it does protect your shadows. You've got a beautiful mirror in here as well as all of the eyeshadow colors, which I love them. There are 9 shadows in total, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them are metallic or foiled finish, and then you've got 4 which are a completely matte finish. This palette was made in the good old US of A. It has a shelf life of 12 months. It's cruelty free, and it's got a net weight of 12.5 grams of product, which is, I think, pretty decent. In terms of ingredients, these look to be pretty good. Each shadow does have a different formulation, and all of the ingredients are listed on the back of the palette, which I definitely appreciate. It's not on the sleeve, which is something you typically throw away. And in terms of the base of most of these shadows, you either have synthetic fluoroflogopite, I think that's how you say it. There's either silica, mica, or talc, which is pretty standard for most eyeshadow formulas. In terms of ingredients that might be a little harsh on sensitive eyes, I do see that some of the colors contain ultramarines, so if you do have sensitive eyes, as always, patch test before you fully apply. And there was also bismuth oxychloride in the shadow Testify, so just be wary of that. Bismuth oxychloride does tend to cause irritation, again, on those who have really sensitive eyes. I also saw that some of the shadows contain titanium dioxide and Red Lake 40. I've never had any issues with any of these shadows on my eyes. They don't burn, they don't cause any irritation, and they also don't stain my eyes, which I am extremely grateful for. If you look at the front of this palette, it is dark red Roses, which I think are beautiful. It's this beautiful sort of satin finish. I love the way texturally how it feels when I rub my hand against it. I also appreciate a satin finish on this palette because it will prevent it from getting really dirty or getting eyeshadow stains all over it that you can't wipe off, like with some of the Anastasia palettes when they have the velvet finish. And for the most important part, the shadows themselves. They are so beautiful. I mean, this palette you just have to see in person. I don't think pictures can really do it justice. All of these colors were inspired by some of the lead female characters from the TV show, and I think Raine did such an incredible job putting this together. There isn't a single color in here that I don't like, and that is very rare for me to say about a palette. I also really appreciate that this is a one and done palette, and that is something that I do look for when I purchase palettes just like this. I don't want something that is gonna need an accompanying palette or additional single shadows in order for me to get some good use out of it. I wanna be able to take this one palette here and be done with the look. And with this particular palette, I know I can achieve that. I have 4 stunning matte colors, and then I've got a bunch of metallic colors or foiled shadows that I can work with. Let's talk about texturally how these shadows feel, because when I was finger swatching all of these, I did notice that some are drier than others and some feel butterier than others. So I just want to point a few things out. The color Snitch up here, as well as the color Betrayal, are drier matte colors. So to the touch, they feel powdery and they feel dry. It's not to say that these shadows will not blend. Oh good Lord, they blend and they have tons of pigment. I just want to talk about how it felt on my fingers. And coincidentally, these are the 2 shadows that I used to create the look that I've got going on today, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. Testify and Deception were slightly butterier mattes. They did feel a lot smoother and a little more wet to the touch, which I appreciated. Except Testify, I did need to build up a little bit. I can say though, if you apply Testify with a brush to your eyes, you don't get patchiness, but for some reason with the finger swatch, you do have to go over it a couple of times in order to get full opacity and also to get rid of any patchiness. In terms of the metallic and foiled colors, there isn't a single one in here that I don't like. And again, that is surprising of me to say about a palette. I think my favorite color in this palette has to be Alibi. It's the color that I've got on my lids today, and it is this beautiful deep purple that has silver, and I believe it's also got blue reflex in it. It is so stunning, and on the eyes, bellissimo. You've got Revenge in the middle, which is this beautiful pop of gold, and I think it's so complementary with all of the other tones that you have in here. Truth is another stunning foiled color. Respect is a beautiful duochrome. You got a little bit of blue and violet in there. It is just such a unique color. You're going to see it in the swatches. And then we have Legacy, which is very buttery to the touch. I'd say it is a little on the crumbly side, but oh man, I can deal with a little bit of crumble if this is the kind of color I'm gonna get. Let's talk about the application of these shadows. I didn't have a single issue with any of them. I thought they blended beautifully. They were all very pigmented, and I had full color payoff. Because of the pigmentation of these colors, I think they are gonna look good on any skin tone from fair to deep dark and everything in between. They are packed with so much color, and I don't think you even have a learning curve with these particular shadows. You just plop them on and poof, they already look good. For the look I created today, I did start off with Alibi, and I put Alibi really close to my lower lash line. I wanted a bit of shine to peek through. I wanted the glitter to come through, but I also wanted to do something a little bit dark and smoky. And this is a series that I've actually started on my Instagram. It's called the Dark Series, and I basically work with black or charcoal colors, and then I blow them out into a colorful gradient. And I have been loving the looks so far, and this is the palette that actually inspired me to do that particular series. So Alibi is definitely one of my favorite colors in here. As you can see, it applied beautifully. I had zero issues with it. There was a little bit of fallout, which is what prompted me to put a little bit of loose powder underneath my eyes, but as soon as I did that and as soon as I finished my look, I was able to wipe everything away and I had no problems at all. And when I say fallout, it was very, very minimal. From there, I went into the color Snitch, and Snitch is what I use to sort of complete the halo of my eye. I wanted to round everything out and sort of get a matte color in there as well, so Alibi can blend in nicely into Snitch. As you can see, the pigmentation was amazing. I did find that if you blend Snitch a little too much, it does tend to fade away a little bit, but if you just pack it back on, reblend, you are good to go. After Snitch, I went into the color Betrayal, and that is probably the primary color that you see on my lids because that's the one I use to blow out my crease. And man, did this color blend beautifully. And the last color I used was Legacy. Unfortunately, my battery on my camera died at that point and I didn't realize it. I thought I was still filming. So I wasn't able to capture how Legacy was applied. So I'm just gonna add a little bit extra into the corners of my eyes. And you can just see, oh my goodness, how powerful that pigment is and just its luminosity. And even right in my brow bone, like every time I turn my head and the light hits it at the right angle, I just see the violet pop through and it's so complimentary. I use brushes to apply all of these shadows and I had zero issues. Of course, you can use your finger to apply the metallic colors, and I think whether you use a finger or a brush, the application looks the same. And you can't say that about a lot of formulas, but with this one, identical. I think these shadows look good on a bare lid or with a primer. I actually prefer the primer because it gives you more of a neutral base to work with, and the shadows do stand out just a tad more. And now I want to show you a couple of other palettes that I think look very similar to the color story that is in this Power palette. I did want to compare it to the Queen of Hearts palette from Colored Raine. I just can't find it right now. I know it's somewhere in my makeup storage, kind of back there. I just can't get to it at the moment because of all of my equipment. But I do have 3 other palettes here that I want to do a side-by-side comparison with. The first is this one here from Ace Beauté. You guys know how much I love this brand and their palettes. I think they are beautiful. This is what the, what's it called? The Paradise Fallen palette looks like. And I'm just going to do the side by side with the Power palette. So you can see this one here has more true to color purple shadows, whereas this one here has purpley pink shadows instead. I think both of these palettes are beautiful. I would recommend both palettes without any hesitation, but certainly I think this palette is more true purple, whereas this one, like I said, has more of that berry pink tone. The other comparison I wanted to make is this one here from Dominique Cosmetics. This is the Berries and Cream palette. This one is a beautiful, beautiful, gigantic palette. I'm trying to fit it over my face. It has a lot of beautiful purple tones, again with more of a berry hue as the name would suggest. And then when I put these side by side, you can see that this here is probably, I think, a better comparison in terms of the shadows. Some of the colors are pretty similar. Obviously, you've got a little more variety of tones in the Dominique palette, but again, I think both are beautiful. And the last comparison I want to to show you is this one here. This is the Natasha Denona Lila palette. We all know this palette. I'm sure you've seen this palette a number of times. It has a lot of stunning, stunning colors. And I think out of the three, this is probably the closest comparison to this particular palette. And this one here set me back 162 Canadian dollars, which is a lot of money. I know it did go on sale recently, so if it was on sale, I'm glad you saved yourself some money if you decided to buy it. But if you don't want to spend the hefty price tag that Natasha Denona shadows come with, I would definitely recommend picking up the Colored Raine Power Palette, because if you just look at the tones, they are so similar. I think you can dupe most of these colors with this palette. It's striking. Overall, I definitely think this is a palette worth buying. I am getting a lot of use out of it, and I've only had it in my hands for about a week now. I love it. Everything about it is delightful to me. Love the color scheme, I love the way the shadows apply, and I love the wear time. I also love supporting smaller brands. You guys know that based on my past reviews and also based on the type of makeup that I use on my Instagram posts. Let me know in the comments if you're going to be picking up this palette or any of the other items in this particular collaboration. If you already have this palette or any of the other items, also let me know what you think of them. I'm always curious to know what everybody's thoughts and opinions are. And that's gonna do it for this review. I really hope you guys found it helpful. If you did, you know what's coming next. Give this video a big thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my upcoming videos. If you want to keep up with me outside of YouTube, you can follow me on all of my social media, which I'm gonna link for you in the description box below. I do post quite regularly on Instagram, so if you're ever looking for any makeup inspiration, I do try to post brand new eye looks almost daily, if not every other day. I also share application techniques over there, as well as some mini reviews on the items that I am working with. So please go and check me out on Instagram and also give me a follow. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope you are all having an amazing day no matter where you are in the world. Stay beautiful, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!